Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. We got the 21-inch model Ships Ahoy Fiberglass Catamaran on the block. This is a twin motor catamaran build series, part 3. Today we're going to be installing through hull mounted water pickups. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple ideas for water cooling pickups for your boat. So stick around. Big B, we're Ironclad RC. Water cooling. I'm actually going to go over a few options that I have, maybe give you guys a couple ideas for options you may use for your boat. Okay, before we do that, let me just kind of catch you guys up. If you didn't see a previous upload, we got the motor mounts installed, homemade carbon fiber motor mounts. Motors are mounted up, got a rudder temporarily attached to the transom, and our DIY stuff and tube stinger. Okay, this is just a brass tube with a homemade bushing in. Okay, 1/18 scale aluminum rod ends with a 3mm post, and I used a coupler in the back corners back there to basically adjust my stingers. Alright, so you guys are basically caught up. Just getting started on the build, really. So we may go with extra large cooling line. I've got some smaller cooling lines that may be more suitable for this boat, so still up in the air for that. But the rudder that I chose, or the only rudder I could find that would fit this twin motor catamaran, did not come with water pickups. Most traditional, like modern, I guess, modern ready to run boats use a water pickup on their rudder to cool the electronics down. We don't have that option, so we have to come up with another way to cool down the electronics. Got an external transom mounted water pickup. We have flush mounted water pickups, or we can just make our own with a brass tube. Okay, the transom mounted pickup may work. All right, we could just run one branch off with a Y or T splitter to each side, cool it down that way. That would probably work, to be honest with you. We could get two of them, mount one on each side, and run one side, other side type deal. We could use these through hull flush mounted water pickups. They basically get mounted on the main ride surface. On a catamaran, typically toward the back of your rear, your back step. Okay, and that basically gets mounted just like this. Okay, and it just forces water in. I bought these for this boat, but I don't think I'm gonna freaking use them. When I ordered them and drilled the holes for my stuffing tubes, I took into account the water pickup. Okay, so it would fit right beside it. I did not take into account installing my motor using a flex driver or an Allen. That's actually going to mess me all up getting my motor head screws tightened up. It's going to be right in the way, and it's going to be in the way of tuning my stingers with the post in the back. Okay, more so messing me up getting my motor head screws tightened down. So I don't think I'm going to use these. I really want to, though. So I think what we're going to do is use this 3.7mm brass tube. I don't know what that is in inches, but you have to do the math. Okay, I think we're going to use this. We're going to have to cut it down to size. I've already soldered on some nipples so that it basically will keep my silicone cooling line on, and I'm going to try to mount it as far back as I can, put a nice hard bend on it. Okay, so this side would actually cool this side would cool that side. We'll kind of have an angle on it similar to this. That way everything's kind of out the way to get to the post. It's going to be out the way to get to the motor head screws. So yeah, let's start bending this, mark out some holes, drill the holes, and let's get busy. Alright, so I got both holes drilled. Okay, I got my little grinder in there, grinding a little bit of area so I can get my tube in. I'll probably cut it a little bit shorter, but now you guys just kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. Alright, make sure we're going to have enough room for our servo. Don't know if well, I'll probably just use this one. I got this one, but I'll probably just use this one. It's lighter, you know. So that should be out the way. Alright, and I'll show you what it looks like on the bottom. I had some chipping. That's one of the reasons why I waited to prime this boat. It's gel coat, you know, and it's chipping some kind of bad. Any hole you put, hell, I don't even know how that chipped off. Back of my ride surface chipped off, so I have to fill that. I have to fill this in. Both of them chipped, but got them drilled in line with the ride surface. Alright, so I got my brass tubes cut and bent to shape. Okay, I got the angles basically grinded and sanded, pretty much ready to be mounted in the boat. Each one is side specific. I have them dry fitted in the hull. Alright, I got the cooling line in just to see which one I like best. Like I said, I got the servo, make sure we're going to have a straight obstructionless run to our rudder. Okay, you got to take all this stuff into account when you're building a freaking boat. Okay, this is basically what they're going to look like on the bottom. I've already hit the bottom with some sandpaper, just kind of roughing up those boo-boos. And you want to get them mounted flush. You don't want them protruding past the bottom. If you have them protruding past the bottom, you're going to have to do some sanding. So make sure when you mount them up that you mount them up flush. Anything like sticking below the bottom of the boat is going to create drag, going to create lift, slow you down, flip the boat. So it's a really important part, mounting them up. Okay, so I can get to my head screws with my flex driver. Okay, I can get to my coupler. All right, and most importantly, I can tune my stingers. Okay, so looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and get them mounted up. Probably just fast forward through it. It's pretty tedious, and you're not really gonna see much. I'll show you or update you throughout the process. Just kind of stuffed some modeling clay in my coolant tube. Okay, that's going to prevent epoxy from running in there. It's just going to save you a lot of time and headache. Okay, I did both of them, sanded around my tube so I get a nice bond. Okay, cleaned everything up with epoxy inside and out. It's ready to roll. Go ahead and epoxy one end, and then once it's all cured out, I'll epoxy the other one in. Probably just show you guys the process for one. Saves me time and you guys time as well. So let's get at it. So I got my tube mounted up. It's flat to the ride surface. If anything, it's like sticking up just a hair. So whenever I hit it with the sandpaper, it'll be perfectly flat to the bottom of the boat. Alright, I'm pretty sure I got it out the way of my post there. It's kind of pushing it. But once it cures out, I can kind of bend that tube over a little bit more if I need to. Boom! Looks ironclad to me. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Huh? Looks pretty good. Alright. Like you guys seen, I just used some sanding boards, some wore out sanding boards, and I used a couple files. If I had some brass that needed to be filed down. I used my file. Pretty much just used my sanding boards. Made sure they were flat when I was sanding it. I used my ruler while I was sanding. Made sure that I didn't see any gaps. I didn't have any teeter-tot, you know. And when I was actually doing most of my work, I was mainly like trying to put pressure. If I had to like sand around my work area, I would try to put pressure forward. I was trying to keep the back of my rod pads exactly where they're at. You want to keep those all the same. So I was trying to kind of, you know, work it forward of my work area. But they look pretty good. I actually, before I epoxied it, I actually feathered out those chips. So I have more surface area to grab onto. Feathered it from nothing to something, you know what I'm saying? And it was worked out pretty good. Just use Cabasil. Oh god, that's good. That's real good. And we're about to reinforce it with carbon fiber, fiberglass, and very light application of epoxy. And we'll try to go light on the epoxy so it's a lightweight reinforcement. Because I actually need to bend this one in. It's a little bit too far over, kind of messing me up getting to my post. So yep, let's go ahead and reinforce it. Okay, so I mixed up a little bit of epoxy. I've had this epoxy bowl for like a year. It's built up. That's solid epoxy. So I mixed up a little bit of 30-minute. I used 15-minute on the previous application just because it was a quick install. Well, it wasn't quick. It took me a while, but it set up quicker than that 30-minute. So what I'm going to do is lightly brush on this epoxy all over my area, okay? All over where I want to get my carbon fiber. Just lightly brush it on, okay? Not going to dip my brush again. What I've been doing is I cut my carbon fiber up real fine, and I'll use my brush to pick up a couple pieces of carbon fiber, okay? And then what I've been doing is just dabbing that carbon fiber. There's enough epoxy down with that one application to get this stuff wetted out. And that's really all you got to do with carbon fiber. Make sure it's wetted out with the epoxy. You know, I just stuck my freaking finger right in the epoxy. But just make sure it's wetted out. You know, dry brush it on there. Okay. And if you notice that the carbon fiber, it's not soaking up any more epoxy, then you can lightly dip your brush in the epoxy. You don't need much, because it's just a small area, and dab it onto the dry area that you're working on. You feel me? Wanted to show you how much epoxy I had left. Okay, you guys see all that epoxy? Alright, I had a lot of epoxy. Basically only dabbed or wet my brush out one time in the epoxy. Okay, went around my work area, both sides, then dabbed carbon fiber on. Okay, if it went a little dry, I did kind of dip it, lightly dip it, but it actually looks pretty good. D-U-N, done. Alright, freaking awesome. Okay, so we're about to throw the cooling line on, just see what it looks like. But I just wanted to remind you guys, I have super thanks available if you guys want to help donate and contribute to the channel. If you guys learned something, super thanks is a nice way of saying thank you. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, or if you're new to the channel. All we do is work on boats, run boats, wreck boats, everything boats. So let's throw the lines on, see what it looks like. Got the cooling lines on. It actually looks pretty good, man. It looks pretty good. I don't know if I want to run my cooling lines like up here, or if I'll just kind of run them straight to the speed control like that. I'm thinking I'll probably run them like this. I didn't drill any holes in my motor mount, so I'm going to get a stepped bit in there to make the hole for my cooling line. Either way, it's going to look tight. I like it. Gonna have room for my speed control, even if I did it like this, you know. like I said, I bent these nipples out my way so I can get my flex driver in there. Okay, that's kind of the reason I want to run the cooling lines up here. You know, I gotta install my exits, but I'm not sure where I want to install them. I need to get farther along in the build. I think I'm gonna go with some Fly Color 90s because one of the two of these don't work. I was testing this one, and it'll only run for like 2 seconds, and then it'll shut off. Like, it's weird. And I've checked all the wires. I actually ruined one of my batteries. I was working on it, doing some bench testing. I had to go do something with the kids. I left it plugged into my 3S battery all freaking night, and I got back the next day. 3S battery was done. 0, 0, 0 all the way across the board. The ESC won't power back on. I tried to recover the cells on my 3S battery, and I could only get 2 of the 3 recovered using nickel metal. So rookie mistake on my part. All right, but that's how you install flush mounted water pickups. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You learned something. We'll see you next time. Big B with Ironclad RC.